Are you thinking about moving to Luanda, Angola and taking your dog? Then you're gonna wanna watch this video first. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. This week, I'm gonna be sharing with you everything that you need to know about having your dog with you in Luanda, Angola. And when Andrew, my husband, first got his job offer to move to Luanda, one of the first things I thought about was my dogs. I wasn't sure how we could get them over there, how they would do on the trip. They had never flown in an airplane before, and Luanda was a 14-hour plane ride. And so I was really concerned, and there was not a lot of information out there. I really had to piecemeal it together and talk to some expats that were there on the ground. So I hope that this video will serve as sort of a resource for those of you that are going to be moving to Luanda, Angola, and taking a pet with you. So before we get into the video, let me put your mind at ease. Yes, you can take your dog with you and your cat as well. I had many expat friends that took their dogs with them in and out. Honestly, we also took ours on a Christmas holiday with us. We came back to the United States for about a month and we brought our dogs back with us and took them back to Luanda. So it is very, very possible and doable, and many people do it, to take your dog with you to Luanda. So for this video, I'm just gonna go through some different parts of being a dog owner. So everything from walking your dog to getting supplies to veterinarian care to Angolans and dogs. So I'm just gonna briefly hit on some things that will probably be of interest to you. Before we get into the video, definitely go below, hit that like button, and also hit that red subscribe button because I'm gonna be sharing a lot more Luanda content with you guys and I don't want you to miss out. I'm also trying really hard to get to 1,000 subscribers in November, so every subscriber really helps. All right, let's first talk about grassy areas in Luanda, or honestly, lack of. If you're planning on living in downtown Luanda, Angola, there's not going to be a lot of grassy areas for your pet to go to the restroom. So if your dog is used to having lots of grass to choose from and they never go on concrete or they don't go on the sidewalks, you might have a little bit of a hard time finding areas for your pets. I would say that the grassiest area is going to be the Marginal or the Ilia, but depending on where you live, that might mean that you have to get in your car and drive your pet to those areas. So again, if your pet's not used to using the restroom on concrete, you might want to start trying to get them used to that as well. Now, if you're planning on living in Luanda Sol or Talatona, there's going to be a lot more grass for your pet to choose from. So again, if you live in a community, especially those gated communities, some of those expat compounds, you're gonna have a yard full of grass and there's gonna be plenty of grass in the neighborhood for your dog to go to the restroom. And in between neighborhoods, grass, guys, is very expensive to keep alive. That uses a lot of water. So in Luanda, that's why you're not gonna find a lot of grass growing. But there is going to be some sparse grasses in between neighborhoods growing, so your pet can use that as well. So that's just something to be aware of, that it is sometimes hard to find grass in Luanda for your pet to go to the restroom. Let's talk about stray dogs in Luanda. And unfortunately, there are quite a few of them. You're going to see them all over the city and you're going to see them around your neighborhoods as well. We lived in Talatona and there were still a lot of stray dogs out there as well. So it's just something to be aware of and just keep in mind whenever you're walking around. You guys know I like to jog outside and I would go obviously around the city, and stray dogs were definitely an issue. So honestly, I wish I had gotten a rabies booster before I moved to Luanda. I did not, but I wish I had. So I'm not giving any medical advice here by any means. Just personally, if I did ever move back to Luanda, maybe one day, I would have a rabies booster before I made the move over there. So it's just something to be aware of. There are a lot of stray dogs and you just want to kind of keep your bearings when you're out and about. Angolans and dogs. So I'm not really sure how to talk about this one, but many Angolans are a little afraid of dogs, even small dogs. We have two small dogs. You guys have seen them here on the channel before. I talk about them quite a bit as a dog mom. And a lot of Angolans kind of stayed away from our dogs as well. In fact, Herbie, who is just a cute little bundle of joy, he actually scared away a house robber one day, so I was very grateful for that. But yeah, they are definitely a little fearful of dogs. But it makes sense. I have just talked about how many stray dogs there are on the streets of Luanda. And I think a lot of Angolans have had kind of close calls with dogs as far as biting, or they have friends or family that have had encounters with dogs that have bit them. So they are a little bit more standoffish, especially if you're taking a large dog. We had friends that took a Great Dane, and I think the Angolans were definitely very weary, even though she was a gentle giant. I think most Angolans, I hate to stereotype on this channel for sure, but I did find it to be quite true that they were a little at least standoffish when it came to being around dogs. And I really only say this so that you can be kind of respectful of that when you move to Luanda. Don't push your dog on people, and don't expect people to just run up and tell you how cute your dog is and want to pet your pet. That probably might not happen in Luanda. So just kind of be prepared and just be respectful that other people have had different experiences with dogs and they might not all be very positive. Let's talk about dog sitters. Now, I think it's a lot easier to find dedicated dog sitters now in Luanda, but when we lived there, it was very difficult to find somebody that would actually watch your dog. You could kennel them in some of the vets, but I really prefer not to kennel my dogs if possible. I like them to stay at home when I'm gone so they feel more comfortable. And so what we ended up doing was using our maid. So she would come while we were gone. She would come in the morning, let them out, feed them, and then pretty much stay at our house the entire day. And then at the evening, she would again feed them, let them out, and go home at night. So that really worked out well for us because we already had her in our home. She already knew us. She was very familiar with the dogs. Dog walking in Luanda. So we had two small dogs, so I felt very comfortable taking them around the city to go on dog walks. But I also knew that if a stray dog came and my dogs were in any kind of danger, I could easily scoop them up and hold them in my arms. So I didn't have that fear of them getting into a fight with another dog. But I did hear from some other dog owners of larger dogs that you can't just easily pick up, that they didn't like to walk their dog outside of their neighborhood because they didn't want to potentially run into a stray dog and have a situation happen. Another place to walk your dogs is going to be the Marginal downtown. We would go there not every weekend, but probably once a month, and it was a really great place to just kind of walk the water and just enjoy it. It was peaceful. There's places to eat. My dogs really liked it. There's a lot of space for them. So definitely check it out. I've done a video on the Marginal, so I will link it up here and you can watch that. So I would suggest before you start walking your dog outside of your neighborhood to kind of walk it first by yourself and just kind of see if there's any dangers for your dog. If you see a stray dog, on a regular basis come around, it might just be something that you need to be aware of, but you won't have any problem walking your dog in Luanda. We never had any problems. It's just maybe be aware of some of the stray dogs out there. Vet care in Luanda. Now, this is probably the one that I was the most nervous about, but you can rest easy. There are many, many good veterinarians in Luanda. The ones that I preferred were a little bit further outside the city, closer to Talatona where I live. The first was Casa de Animales, and the second was Vet Cor Libre. I believe they were both in the Morabento neighborhood, which is very close to where we were in Talatona. They had great vet care. I never had any problems. Whenever we had a few issues, one time Peanut was sneezing some blood. I think that was our biggest issue the entire time we lived there. They do teeth cleanings, but they were able to kind of check out her nose as well with the equipment they had. Again, I didn't have any doubts. I felt really confident with them. But if you live in the city in downtown Luanda, there's many, many veterinarians there as well. So if you're worried about vet care, do not worry. There is plenty of vets in Luanda to choose from, and your dog will be in good hands. Dog products in Luanda. So there are definitely going to be plenty of dog products and cat products that you can buy in Luanda. There's dog food, dog treats, dog shampoo. I think they even have heartworm pills and definitely flea medication. So you can find all of that in Luanda. I will say that I am a little more picky with the food that I feed my dogs. So most of the food I believe that you're gonna find in Luanda, and I'm sure it has changed over the years, but I found most of it to be from China. And for me, that wasn't something that I wanted to feed my dogs. So honestly, I actually flew in a lot of my food for about a year to Luanda to feed my dogs, and I flew in dog treats as well. I would just literally put the bag of dog food in my suitcase and just fly it over, and I had no problems. But about a year and a half into our assignment there, I found a pet store that had some really good food from Akana, and I started buying that. So that was really helpful. I could use a suitcase for other things. But no worries, if you're not picky about what you feed your pet, there's plenty of dog food to choose from. There's even there's good brands as well, like Iams. You don't need to fly in dog food. I'm just one of those people that's extremely picky. But don't worry, there's plenty of dog food, plenty of dog treats, supplies, toys, dog beds that you can get there in Luanda. One thing to note about pet products in Luanda is going to be the price. So you're just gonna need to be aware that you're not gonna get the same low prices that you'll get at Walmart here or Target in the United States. It's going to be a little bit more expensive. I think the vast majority of their pet products are flown in or imported. So you're going to see that reflected at the cash register. So just be prepared for when you buy products there, they're going to be a little bit more pricey. The next thing I want to talk about briefly is going to be airport entry and exit with your pet in Luanda. So getting your pet in and out of Luanda is not difficult. It will be a little bit time consuming and will require a little bit of research as far as all the paperwork is concerned, but it's not something that should hinder you from actually taking your dog in and out of the airport with you. Now, I won't speak to the actual paperwork that's required because I'm sure it changes all the time. The government there will change paperwork periodically, so I don't want to tell you something incorrect. But overall, when you arrive at the Luanda airport, you will want to have the required paperwork, which is basically going to be some kind of a health certificate and usually some kind of rabies certificate. And then sometimes they might require some kind of import certificate, but definitely check into that. Of course, you're going to need the health certificate and the rabies though, just to get on a plane in the United States or probably any country you're coming from. So let's talk about when you arrive at the airport in Luanda. If you put your dog underneath the plane as cargo, then you're going to pick him or her up when you get your luggage. They'll kind of bring the pets out and you can go and claim your dog. I also did a video about pet travel, so definitely check it out. It has so much information and has everything that I use for my dogs. I think they've taken 6 international trips now. Everything that we use every single time we travel with them. It's really helpful and it's a really good resource. But once you collect your dog in the Luanda airport, you kind of just want to make sure you have maybe in your tote bag or your purse, your handbag, the paperwork that you need for your dog. So just kind of have it ready because when you do go through the customs line, so not the immigration, but the customs, they might ask to see that paperwork for your dog. My experience has been the 2 times that we flew into Luanda with our dogs, they just ushered us through. They didn't want to see the paperwork. They didn't really want to see the dogs. Like I said earlier, many Angolans kind of shy away from dogs. So for them, it was just go through. We're not too worried. So that was my personal experience. However, I definitely recommend you still have the paperwork handy on you because you know what's gonna happen. The minute that you don't have the paperwork handy, you're gonna have to go digging in your luggages because they're gonna wanna see it. So just have it ready to go. But overall, it's pretty easy to get your dog from the luggage area through the customs and out to your vehicle. All right, friends, that is everything that I could think of that you might want to know about what it's like to take your dog to Luanda, Angola. If you have any questions, anything I've forgotten about, anything about the products you're curious about, then definitely go below in the comments and let me know. I will get back to you. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next week with another expat related video. Bye guys.